Item Number SCP-Y-065. Object Class Euclid. Special Containment Procedures. SCP-Y-065 is contained within a designated exclusion zone encompassing approximately 35 square kilometers within October Mountain State Forest, Massachusetts, USA. This containment perimeter is marked by a series of high, reinforced chain-link fences topped with razor wire. Warning signs indicating severe biohazard and restricted wildlife conservation areas are prominently displayed every 100 meters along the perimeter to discourage unauthorized access by civilians. Additionally, Foundation personnel embedded within local wildlife agencies actively discourage any civilian curiosity regarding the secured area. Continuous surveillance is maintained by a network of concealed infrared and night vision equipped camera systems, positioned strategically throughout the containment zone. Surveillance footage is monitored 24/7 by on-site Foundation security staff, specially trained in anomalous wildlife containment and emergency protocols. Foundation agents disguised as forest rangers and wildlife conservationists regularly patrol the containment area's perimeter. These agents are equipped with standard Foundation tranquilizer weapons loaded with powerful sedatives, though usage is considered a last resort measure due to SCP-Y-065's unpredictable nature and potential immunity. Entry to the containment zone for research or maintenance purposes requires prior authorization from the site director. All personnel entering the containment zone must be equipped with GPS trackers, biometric monitors, emergency signaling devices, audio and video recording equipment. Personnel are mandated to operate in groups of no fewer than 4 individuals at all times. Any unauthorized entry by civilians or detected breaches of containment are met with immediate deployment of Mobile Task Force Zeta-0 Squad 16, Cervidae Hunters, a specialized unit trained explicitly in wilderness tracking, psychological resilience, and anomalous wildlife containment strategies. MTF Zeta-0 Squad 16 is responsible for extracting intruders, securing the perimeter, and re-establishing containment swiftly and effectively. Due to SCP-Y-065's apparent preference for human targets, additional measures, including controlled acoustic deterrence and targeted scent dispersion systems, have been implemented throughout the containment area. These systems periodically simulate human presence along designated perimeter areas to maintain SCP-Y-065's territorial boundaries and prevent potential wandering outside the designated zone. Any direct encounters or sightings of SCP-Y-065 by Foundation personnel must be reported immediately, and affected personnel are to undergo comprehensive psychological evaluation following their extraction from the containment area. Personnel exhibiting anomalous physical or psychological symptoms following interactions with SCP-Y-065 are subject to quarantine and further study within Site-Y-1's secure medical wing. Regular reviews of containment procedures are mandated monthly, with adaptations and enhancements implemented as new data regarding SCP-Y-065's behaviors and capabilities become available. Description: SCP-Y-065, designated as Gloomhart, manifests as a floating cervine deer skull with 6 eye sockets, each socket consistently occupied by glowing, luminescent orbs reminiscent of eyes. The entity exhibits sustained levitation approximately 1.5 to 2.5 meters above the forest floor, with its movement pattern suggesting it is connected to an otherwise invisible, cervid-like body. However, observations note significant inconsistencies in its movements, such as erratic shifts in height and awkward, unnatural locomotion, which indicates it attempts to mimic local wildlife, but is not fully adapted to accurate movements and behaviors typical of baseline deer. Additionally, thermal imaging has revealed slight fluctuations around the skull, suggesting the presence of an intangible, ghostly form. SCP-Y-065 displays predatory behavior, meticulously stalking targets within dense forest environments. Surveillance footage collected from strategically placed Foundation cameras has documented stalking behavior, lasting from 3 to 14 days, with few encounters lasting beyond the 5th day, during which the entity gradually reduces its distance to its selected prey, observing intently and silently from varying distances. While tracking prey, SCP-Y-065 frequently positions itself behind foliage or natural barriers, appearing to watch and analyze its targets. During this stalking phase, local wildlife within the immediate vicinity exhibits heightened anxiety and altered behavior patterns, indicative of heightened stress or fear responses. Upon nearing the conclusion of its stalking phase, SCP-Y-065 directly confronts its prey, positioning itself at face level with the targeted organism. The prey inevitably exhibits distress and attempts escape. At this moment, an unseen force hoists the prey violently upward, suspending it in midair. Subsequently, the prey is rapidly consumed in segments, torn away by an invisible and powerful force believed to be the mouth of SCP-Y-065. Witness accounts and video recordings indicate visible bite marks and tissue loss consistent with animal predation, though no visible agent aside from the skull itself has ever been observed. After successful predation, SCP-Y-065 ascends slowly, disappearing into the tree canopy above, remaining unseen for approximately 24 hours. During this interim, remote sensors have detected unusual electromagnetic and thermal signatures in the canopy, further suggesting intangible activity or the presence of unseen anomalous phenomena. Following this hiatus, the entity returns to ground level, initiating another cycle of quiet observation and gradual stalking behavior. Notably, SCP-Y-065 exhibits an immediate awareness of human presence within its territory, showing a strong preference for humans over any other prey. Human subjects who are targeted or merely stalked by SCP-Y-065 consistently report escalating psychological distress, manifesting as paranoia, heightened anxiety, and intrusive sensations. Such sensations include tactile hallucinations, described as human-like fingers brushing against the back of their neck, or tugging lightly at hair and clothing. Individuals also frequently experience auditory distortions, perceiving a dampening of ambient noise, likened to large hands nearly enveloping the head, despite no visible or physical presence detected. A peculiar vocalization resembling low-pitched deer barks is occasionally emitted by SCP-Y-065, exclusively during human stalking episodes. Strikingly, these vocalizations appear audible only to the specific targeted individual, even when accompanied by others. Extended exposure to SCP-Y-065 stalking has resulted in documented cases of severe psychological deterioration and paranoia, leading individuals to engage in erratic behavior and impaired decision-making, increasing their susceptibility to direct confrontation by the entity. A singular documented incident involving a human survivor provides crucial insights into SCP-Y-065's anomalous interactions. The survivor reported a prolonged, direct encounter with SCP-Y-065, maintaining eye contact for an extended, indeterminate duration before losing consciousness due to fear-induced exhaustion. Upon awakening within the same location, the survivor bore a large, permanent black hand mark embedded in his back. This individual, henceforth designated as SCP-Y-065-A, has exhibited progressive physiological changes, notably the gradual alteration of iris pigmentation from green to a distinct, opaque, milky white hue. Subsequent examinations of SCP-Y-065-A indicate further anomalous physiological developments, including subtle, beveled indentations forming beneath and adjacent to his eyes. Researchers theorize these changes suggest the early stages of ocular development consistent with SCP-Y-065's multi-eyed cranial structure. Furthermore, SCP-Y-065-A's skin has exhibited increasingly pronounced mottling, suggestive of internal structural changes potentially linked to SCP-Y-065's intangible anomaly. Psychologically, SCP-Y-065-A initially described nightly, vivid nightmares set within forested landscapes, accompanied by increased paranoia and distress. Overextended Foundation containment. These dreams transitioned into positive experiences, reportedly preferable to waking reality, due to sensations of freedom and tranquility. Additional interviews document SCP-Y-065-A exhibiting acute awareness and fixation upon ambient animal vocalizations, specifically deer calls, suggesting a deeper, psychological or possibly extrasensory connection between SCP-Y-065-A and SCP-Y-065 itself. SCP-Y-065-A has displayed increasing disinterest in interactions unrelated to natural environments, expressing a persistent and urgent desire to return to heavily wooded areas. The implication of SCP-Y-065's long-term psychological and physiological influence on SCP-Y-065-A remain under investigation, highlighting the entity's potential for broader psychological manipulation and physical alteration in affected individuals. Continued monitoring of SCP-Y-065-A is paramount, as his condition may provide critical insights into SCP-Y-065's anomalous properties and potential long-term effects on human subjects. Incident Log Y-65-1. Date: May 12, 2000. Location: Adirondack Mountain, New York. Summary: Foundation surveillance equipment originally placed to monitor unrelated anomalous wildlife behavior captured the initial anomalous activity of SCP-Y-065. Camera footage depicted the floating cervine skull moving erratically through dense forestry, often pausing near trails used by local wildlife. Subsequent footage captured prolonged stalking behaviors directed at a single male white-tailed deer, lasting precisely 4 days and 16 hours. The deer appeared increasingly agitated and disoriented as the days progressed, exhibiting uncharacteristic aggression toward other wildlife. On the final day, footage captured SCP-Y-065 suddenly confronting the deer face-to-face, at which point the deer attempted flight, but was immediately lifted by an unseen force and rapidly consumed mid-air. The footage was recovered and archived for further analysis, marking the Foundation's initial confirmation of SCP-Y-065's anomalous predatory behavior. Incident Log Y-65-3. Date: May 19th, 2000. Location: Green Mountain National Forest, Vermont. Summary: Foundation field agents, alerted by anomalous reports of local hunters describing sightings of a, quote, floating skull with glowing eyes, conducted a swift investigative sweep of the region. Remote surveillance drones were deployed, capturing SCP-Y-065 during a migratory repositioning event. Video evidence clearly documented the entity traversing wooded regions by night, making a slow but persistent course toward Massachusetts state borders. Analysis of the migration pattern suggested intentional relocation toward regions of denser human activity during resting periods between travel. Incident Log Y-65-6. Date: May 20th, 2000. Location: Appalachian Trail Segment, Massachusetts. Summary: A group of 4 experienced hikers reported sensations of intense paranoia and auditory hallucinations, later identified as symptoms consistent with SCP-Y-065's predatory stalking. The hikers stated they repeatedly heard low, barking sounds reminiscent of deer vocalizations, seemingly directed solely toward one member of the group at a time. After 2 days of progressive psychological strain and sleeplessness, the hikers managed to vacate the area after direct Foundation intervention. Foundation recovery teams retrieved surveillance footage from strategically placed trail cameras revealing SCP-Y-065 closely shadowing the hikers, becoming more prominent each passing day. The hikers were amnesticized, and trail segments were temporarily closed off under the guise of wildlife conservation efforts. Incident Log Y65-10. Date: May 25th, 2000. Location: October Mountain State Forest, Massachusetts. Summary: Embedded Foundation agent operating under the cover of a wildlife conservationist ceased communications unexpectedly during routine surveillance operation. Retrieval teams dispatched the following morning found Agent M's campsite intact but unoccupied. Surveillance footage retrieved from cameras placed at the campsite perimeter revealed SCP-Y-065 exhibiting unusually aggressive stalking behavior, maintaining close proximity to the agent for approximately 3 days. The final footage depicted Agent turning to face SCP-Y-065 directly, freezing in apparent shock, before violently and abruptly being yanked upward into the tree canopy. Despite extensive searches, no remains were recovered. A standard cover story involving local wildlife dangers was disseminated publicly. Incident Log Y65-12. Date: May 31st, 2000. Location: October Mountain State Forest, Massachusetts. Summary: Following Incident Y65-10, intensified Foundation efforts culminated in the successful containment protocol establishment. Agents reported increased SCP-Y-065 visibility and aggressive territorial behavior upon initiating containment procedures, indicating possible cognizance of efforts to restrict its movement. Surveillance equipment detected heightened anomalous activity, including more frequent audible vocalizations and increased proximity to containment perimeter areas. Aerial drone reconnaissance captured SCP-Y-065 observing Foundation personnel from concealed vantage points, displaying behaviors indicative of possible curiosity or hostility toward containment measures. Despite aggressive attempts at intimidation and infiltration, containment integrity was maintained. Incident Log Y65-14. Date: June 6th, 2000. Location: Containment Perimeter, October Mountain State Forest, Massachusetts. Summary: Foundation security personnel stationed along the containment perimeter reported sudden onset paranoia, tactile hallucinations, and auditory anomalies consistent with SCP-Y-065's stalking behavior. Personnel experienced sensations of unseen physical interaction, described as cold hands lightly placed on their shoulders or tugging at clothing. Security cameras confirmed SCP-Y-065's presence nearby, although it remained just outside visual range from affected personnel. Subsequent psychological evaluations and temporary reassignment were mandated for affected staff. Reinforcement of perimeter defenses, including advanced acoustic deterrent devices and enhanced psychological preparedness training, was implemented following this event. Incident Report Y65-IR22. Date: July 18th, 2000. Location: October Mountain State Forest, Massachusetts. Personnel involved: Ranger James Reed, civilian; Nathan Brennard, confirmed deceased; Ethan Brennard, status missing, presumed deceased. Summary: The following report consolidates the events documented in a recovered video and audio log series, Y65-AL1 through Y65-AL5, recorded on the body camera of civilian Forest Ranger James Reed during an unsanctioned search operation for 2 missing campers. The events led to the first confirmed instance of a human survivor being directly marked by SCP-Y-065, and a witnessed predatory engagement between SCP-Y-065 and an unidentified anomalous entity, resembling folklore descriptions of a Wendigo. Key details: Initial search operation. Reed entered October Mountain State Forest following a request to locate 2 overdue campers. Early recordings note an unnatural silence and absence of wildlife in deeper parts of the forest. Despite clear weather conditions, Reed observed bones and half-buried animal remains inconsistent with typical scavenger behavior. Encounter with missing campers. Nathan and Ethan Brannert were located in a state of exhaustion and paranoia. Both described repeated tactile sensations of being, quote, pulled back by invisible hands, auditory hallucinations of deer-like vocalizations, and an inability to navigate out of the forest despite repeated attempts. Ethan displayed early anomalous symptoms, including fixation on human remains and temporary milky discoloration of one eye. Nighttime events. The group observed SCP-Y-065's skull in the distance on multiple occasions, along with signs of prolonged predation, half-eaten remains, and suspended corpses. Wildlife continued to avoid the area entirely. Disappearance of Nathan Brannert. Reed awoke to find Nathan missing, later discovering his partially eaten remains dragged from camp. Circumstantial evidence suggested that Ethan Brannert may have attacked and cannibalized his brother under anomalous influence, though no direct confirmation was possible. Manifestation of secondary entity. Reed was lured by an imitation of another ranger's voice deeper into the woods. He encountered a tall, humanoid creature resembling folklore depictions of a Wendigo, assumed to be Ethan Brannert, undergoing transformation. SCP-Y-065 intervention. Before the Wendigo entity could reach Reed, SCP-Y-065 descended from the canopy, suspending the creature in midair via an unseen force and consuming it entirely, leaving only its skull. Following this, SCP-Y-065 approached Reed, maintaining direct eye contact for an extended period until the body camera malfunctioned and ceased recording. Reed was later recovered by Foundation search teams in a dissociative state, bearing a large black hand mark on his back and showing early signs of SCP-Y-065-induced physiological alteration. Test Log Y-65-1. Lead Researcher, Dr. Eleanor Trent. Objective: to determine SCP-Y-065's sensory range and stalking behavior using non-living stimuli. Procedure: remote-controlled robotic deer decoys equipped with cameras and heat sensors were deployed into the containment zone, mimicking realistic cervine behavior. Results: SCP-Y-065 began stalking the robotic deer almost immediately, displaying cautious curiosity and maintaining a consistent distance. By day 3, SCP-Y-065 confronted the robotic decoy. Upon detection of its inorganic nature, SCP-Y-065 emitted an audible, low-frequency vocalization resembling aggressive deer calls. Cameras and sensors malfunctioned simultaneously, resulting in loss of data. Observations: SCP-Y-065 exhibited behavior indicative of confusion and agitation, suggesting the entity possesses advanced sensory perception beyond typical animal standards. Test Log Y-65-3. Objective: determine SCP-Y-065's reactions to audiovisual stimuli associated with human presence. Procedure: speakers placed at strategic locations emitted pre-recorded human conversation, laughter, and other typical human-generated sounds. Remote cameras monitored SCP-Y-065's response. Results: SCP-Y-065 displayed immediate attention towards the speakers, approaching cautiously yet assertively. Over subsequent days, SCP-Y-065 systematically destroyed each speaker using precise, aggressive strikes by unseen forces. Camera footage captured SCP-Y-065 remaining motionless and observant after each incident, seemingly analyzing the remains with intensity. Observations. The methodical elimination of artificial human-generated stimuli indicates advanced cognitive capabilities, suggesting SCP-Y-065 associates human-generated stimuli with intrusion or threat. Test Log Y-65-6. Objective: investigate SCP-Y-065 stalking preferences by introducing multiple types of prey simultaneously. Procedure: Foundation researchers introduced various species, including deer, rabbits, and foxes, into SCP-Y-065's known stalking grounds while monitoring via extensive video and thermal imaging. Results: SCP-Y-065 initially stalked the wildlife normally. However, after several days, SCP-Y-065 abruptly ceased normal hunting patterns, exhibiting unpredictable movements. Subsequent analysis indicated SCP-Y-065 actively avoided areas where Foundation equipment was most densely placed. Within 1 week, SCP-Y-065 retreated entirely from test zones, refusing to engage with any introduced prey. Observations: SCP-Y-065's abrupt behavioral change and avoidance of surveillance equipment strongly suggest recognition and adaptive behavior toward Foundation presence, further demonstrating advanced intelligence and cautious self-preservation instincts. Test Log Y-65-9. Objective: evaluate SCP-Y-065's reaction to human analogues, designed to test prey differentiation. Procedure: anthropomorphic mannequins with heat signatures and realistic movements, dressed in typical outdoor apparel, were placed within SCP-Y-065's territory. Results: within 2 days, SCP-Y-065 exhibited aggressive stalking behaviors, quickly converging upon and violently dismantling each mannequin. Surveillance footage recorded repeated instances of SCP-Y-065, apparently directly staring into surveillance cameras post-attack, as if to communicate its understanding that it was being watched. Observations: SCP-Y-065 demonstrated overt hostility toward entities perceived as human, and displayed a new and adaptive, clear awareness of surveillance technology, suggesting hostility specifically directed toward Foundation observation efforts. Test Log Y-65-12. Final Test. Objective: assess SCP-Y-065's learning capabilities and its potential responses to a controlled human subject accompanied by multiple redundant observation methods. Procedure: D-Class personnel D-16399, equipped with GPS trackers, audiovisual monitoring devices, and biometric sensors enter the containment area to simulate typical camping behaviors. Results: SCP-Y-065's behavior shifted dramatically, bypassing its usual stalking protocol and immediately advancing on the subject's location. Surveillance systems across multiple redundancies simultaneously malfunction, with the last available data indicating SCP-Y-065 directly confronting the subject. Recovery teams dispatched to the area found only remnants of the monitoring devices and no trace of the subject. Observations: SCP-Y-065's immediate and aggressive response to the controlled human subject, combined with its coordinated disabling of redundant surveillance equipment, unequivocally confirms hyperadaptation, high-level cognitive functioning, and calculated hostility toward Foundation experimentation. Conclusion: following Test Y-65-12, further experimentation with SCP-Y-065 has been indefinitely suspended by order of Site-Y-1 administration. SCP-Y-065's demonstrated capacity for recognition, understanding, and counteracting Foundation research efforts significantly exceeds expectations for anomalous wildlife. necessitating revision and reinforcement of existing containment and surveillance protocols. SCP-Y-065 demonstrates advanced cognitive awareness of human activity, ability to manipulate both prey and anomalous entities in its territory, potential to induce progressive psychological and physiological transformation in humans that it marks. A second anomalous entity, likely a transformation of the human subject, Ethan Brannard, may indicate SCP-Y-065's territory exerts a wider, anomalous effect, or that SCP-Y-065 passively influences marked humans toward predatory states. Incident Y-65-IR-22 remains one of the most direct and detailed accounts of SCP-Y-065's behavior and its potential long-term impacts on human subjects. Conclusion. The events specifically of Incident Report Y-65-IR-22 have provided the Foundation with the most comprehensive field data on SCP-Y-065, Gloomhart, to date, though many questions remain unanswered. The audio logs recorded by Ranger James Reed reveal not only SCP-Y-065's predatory behavior, but also a disturbing capacity to influence and transform human beings within its territory. Ethan Brannard's gradual, horrific change into a creature closely resembling folklore depictions of a Wendigo suggests that exposure to SCP-Y-065's presence, or perhaps other factors within its territory, can trigger profound physiological and psychological alterations in humans. The exact mechanisms remain unknown, but the evidence points to a process that distorts human instincts toward violent predation and cannibalistic urges, culminating in a full transformation. Ranger Reed's case presents a different phenomenon entirely. Despite prolonged exposure, his transformation appears slower, more controlled, and more symbiotic in nature. Early signs include the anomalous mark embedded on his back, gradual physical alterations, notably near the eyes, and recurring vivid dreams from SCP-Y-065's apparent perspective. Unlike Ethan's violent metamorphosis, Reed's condition suggests a process of imprinting or claiming, potentially designating him as SCP-Y-065's prey, chosen subject, or perhaps even a future extension of its being. The distinction between these two transformations has led to intense debate among Foundation xenobiologists and anomalous ecologists. Two primary theories have emerged to explain these phenomena. Theory A: Adaptive Servine Mimicry Hypothesis. SCP-Y-065 may be a highly advanced, otherworldly predator in a state of evolutionary adaptation. Its awkward, jerking movements often mimic those of baseline reality deer, as though attempting to learn and replicate servine traits despite lacking a physical body. It may perceive the folkloric Wendigo as part of the servine ecological class, and be adapting toward that predatory niche, experimenting with conversion processes to create subordinate hunters, or refine its own form. The transformation of Ethan could represent SCP-Y-065's attempt to replicate the Wendigo's alleged supernatural ability to curse or convert humans into similar beings. If this theory is correct, SCP-Y-065 is not fixed in its form, but is actively experimenting, refining, and expanding its predatory toolkit, unconstrained by human logic or biology. Theory B: Wendigo Progenitor Hypothesis. Alternatively, SCP-Y-065 may not be adapting to the Wendigo archetype, but is instead its progenitor, or a higher-order species in the same lineage. This theory suggests that SCP-Y-065 is a primordial entity from another realm or cosmic stratum, the source of human folklore about Wendigo creatures. It demonstrates the ability to generate multiple classes of these beings, e.g., Ethan's transformation, and Reed's current, slow physical alteration, while simultaneously viewing a fully converted Wendigo as inferior prey. The final moments of the recovered video and audio log strongly support this theory. SCP-Y-065 consumed the transformed Ethan not out of defense, but to eliminate the competition over its chosen prey, Ranger Reed. This implies a hierarchical predator-prey structure, in which SCP-Y-065 is an apex entity above all other Wendigo-class anomalies. The truth may lie between or beyond these two theories. SCP-Y-065 does not conform to human understandings of taxonomy, biology, or predation. It appears to operate according to rules alien to our reality, where hunting, adaptation, and species boundaries intertwine in ways we cannot yet comprehend. Further controlled observation and containment protocols remain a priority, though direct experimentation carries significant risk, given the entity's intelligence, its unpredictable predation cycle, and its demonstrated ability to alter human physiology and psychological irreversibility. This is Director Waller, signing off on another report at Site-Y-1. I hope you'll consider subscribing to stay up to date with our latest findings. I eagerly look forward to having your audience in future reports.